All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to deconstruct a really potent concept, one that gets right to the heart of some very frustrating modern relationship dynamics. This is all about breaking down what one writer has very bluntly called the baby dick mentality.
And this line right here, this is what kicked this whole thing off. It's pretty provocative, right? Because it immediately points to this huge contradiction, this clash between a super confident exterior, that big dick energy, and, well, something much, much less mature hiding just beneath the surface.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that core contradiction. Then we'll dissect the anatomy of this immaturity. After that, we'll look at how it all leads to a breaking point, how a new standard is forged, and finally, we'll get to the author's powerful final verdict.
Okay, so let's dive into section 1. That's central conflict. We're talking about confidence versus insecurity. And this isn't just a simple disagreement, It's about that really confusing space between how someone presents themselves to the world and how they actually act when no one's watching.
So what the author is really describing here is this person who projects all this strength and swagger, but their actions reveal a deep, deep immaturity. And it's this disconnect that makes the whole dynamic so frustrating and, like the text says, ultimately toxic. It's like you think you're getting a line, but what you're actually dealing with is a crying child.
So what does this baby dick mentality actually look like day to day? Let's break down the specific behaviors, the red flags that the author really calls out. At its core, this is way more than just someone being a little childish. No, it's a very specific pattern. We're talking about a desperate need for constant praise, an almost allergic reaction to hearing the word no, and this emotional volatility that makes any kind of real, stable connection feel totally impossible.
And just look at how specific these indicators are. It's not just wanting a compliment here and there. It's needing literal caseloads of validation. It's not just feeling a little disappointed. It's whining after hearing no just one single time. And that phrase, operating system overheating, that is such a brilliant way to describe someone who just can't handle emotional pressure and immediately blames you for being the glitch. And this one is so crucial. They pull away the second things start to get intimate, yet they expect a standing ovation for doing the absolute bare minimum.
Man, this quote just perfectly captures the narrator's frustration. It's about the sheer disrespect. That feeling of being played, Someone is putting on a show right to your face while trying to get intimate with you behind the scenes. It's a total violation of trust.
So naturally, this leads us to the turning point. After figuring out the problem and feeling that disrespect, the narrator decides that just watching it happen isn't enough anymore. It's time to do something about it.
She sees the cycle for exactly what it is, a thorny, destructive path. And instead of trying to fix the other person or just put up with it, she makes a choice for herself. She decides to walk away, saying, let's wrap this up, no time wasted, I'll go another way. It's that simple.
And you can feel that this decision is not coming out of nowhere. There's real history in these words. It's a choice that's totally rooted in past trauma and a brand new commitment to protecting herself. She's been down this road before, and this right here, this is her declaring, never again.
But, walking away from something, that's really only half the battle. The other half is figuring out what you're walking toward. So that's what the narrator does next. She lays out a completely new standard. And just look at this contrast. It is so incredibly powerful. It's this fundamental shift from performance to presence. The guy who needs a standing ovation is replaced with someone who just wants to hold her hand. The partner who pulls away from intimacy is replaced by one who's secure enough to let tears fall. And that chaotic overheater system is finally traded in for a place of peace. See, it's not about the big grand gestures anymore. It's about genuine, quiet connection. And here's the blueprint for that new standard, the details of what a mature partnership looks like. It starts with a foundation of shared values, what she calls God-fearing. It's a call for someone who isn't afraid of simple public affection, and maybe more importantly, someone who's emotionally vulnerable enough to cry. This new standard values patience, right? That understanding that you have to crawl before we walk. And it's about being seen as a place of peace, a real source of comfort, not just some convenience for a quick release. Every single point here is a direct answer to the immaturity she's leaving behind. It's a complete recalibration of what a healthy connection should be.
Okay, this brings us to the final chapter. This is where the author doesn't just walk away. Instead, she delivers a final, definitive verdict on this entire mentality.
So the conclusion here is an active one. The narrator literally takes her healing pen to, as she says, cease this baby dick mentality.
This isn't really an act of anger. It's an act of closure, of self-restoration. It's about setting a firm boundary, not just for this one person, but for her life from this point forward.
So, after this entire journey, from identifying the problem to rejecting it to setting a whole new standard, what's the final piece of advice? What's the last word for someone who might be exhibiting these exact behaviors?
And there it is, a direct, crystal clear warning. The author suggests this behavior might be something learned, something developed through your kin. But you know what? Regardless of where it came from, the outcome is the same. This path, this mentality, it just leads to stagnation and failure when it comes to forming real connections. A really powerful final thought on the self-defeating nature of emotional immaturity.